Welcome to the next episode of Navigating Carbon, your compass to carbon management. As always, I'm your host, Deb Ryan, and in this episode, I sat down with Kelly Bott. Kelly is the Senior VP of Corporate Affairs at Purewest, a Wyoming-based oil and gas company. Purewest is not only a leader in how they get their natural gas certified, but they've also been a leader in identifying and figuring out market opportunities for that low carbon gas in the market. Kelly takes us through some of the work that Purewest is doing, as well as some recent announcements around what the company has done in the certified gas market. If you enjoy this episode, please make sure you like. And as always, if you want to stay up on all upcoming episodes, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. But for now, sit back and enjoy my conversation with Kelly. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Navigating Carbon. Today, I am joined by Kelly Bott. Kelly's the Senior VP of Corporate Affairs at Purewest. Kelly, thanks for joining me.
Happy to be here, Deb.
So explain a little bit for our audience who Purewest is, what you guys do and where you're based and stuff like that.
Sure. Purewest is the largest natural gas producer in the state of Wyoming. We operate in the Pinedale Anticline in southwest Wyoming, in the Upper Green River Basin. I always say if we have a natural resource that's challenging and that people care about, we've got it. So we've got sage grouse, we've got big game corridors. We operate in an area that was designated as an ozone non-attainment area in 2012. So been working on air quality issues for quite a long time. And then, of course, reclamation and all the things that come with surface management in a really challenging part of the country is part of our field as well.
And I think it's worth, you talk about the fact that you guys have been an ozone non-attainment area since 2012. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily think that there's going to be really strict regulations around some of the emission stuff in Wyoming. So just talk about the evolution of some of that work. I know you've been involved in it for a really long time and just how that's kind of progressed and evolved in your operating area.
Absolutely. I started my career with the Wyoming Department of Environmental Quality in 2006. And about that time, DEQ was operating an ozone monitor. And typically they hadn't been operating them during wintertime months. But they had this new toy, they left it running, and lo and behold, they discovered wintertime ozone. And so worked cooperatively industry and the agencies to really develop some plans to reduce emissions. Because ozone is a complicated pollutant and it requires some chemistry. Both NOx and VOCs are important for control of ozone, although we weren't entirely sure which one because there's no working models that will effectively replicate wintertime ozone. And so we worked really hard with Wyoming Department of Environmental Quality and Industry to reduce everything across the board. The cool thing about that, as the climate change regulations started to emerge, is as we were tackling our VOC precursor pollutant, we were getting after greenhouse gases as well. So coming out of that, the area was designated as attaining the ozone standard. So obviously the work that we're doing has been effective. But the really cool thing is that it really put us in a great position when it came to greenhouse gases and differentiated gas and really being able to prove that our emissions are very low.
I love that. And we're going to dive into all of the emissions and certified natural gas piece. But I want to just, one of the things you talked about was that the effort on the ozone attainment was between both industry and the regulator. Like, just talk about how important that was to actually get everyone to buy in and adoption. And we don't often see that kind of collaboration, and it's really important.
Absolutely. My experience both on the regulatory side and the industry side is that the folks working in the oil and gas field, they're looking for solutions. They really want to be effective in their environmental mitigation. And so when this designation came through, bringing operators to the table that have experience in the field and know how we can really achieve the most economic and technically feasible reductions was really, really important. Obviously, new installations and modifications are covered, and we've gotten really good at those. But existing sources was one of the things that we needed to tackle. So finding a way to apply control technology across the field really was important to involve industry of what could be done effectively and efficiently and economically as well.
I love that. And you mentioned the economic pace. And I think as we kind of move forward to talk about greenhouse gas reductions and stuff like that, not just in Wyoming for you guys, but broadly, like, we see a lot of companies trying to balance like where they're spending their capital on capturing emissions or measuring emissions versus what kind of market opportunities there are and stuff like that. Just can you talk about like why is Pure West, going about what you guys explain to people, kind of what you're doing, and a little bit about the why in the context of how companies are operating and stuff.
Absolutely. So, a little bit about Purewest history. We used to be Ultra Petroleum. We went through a couple of bankruptcies. We came out in 2020, and we took a look at who we wanted to be as a company, the kind of work that we were doing, and what was important to us. And we decided to rebrand. So we rebranded at Purewest and decided to really lean into this idea of responsible operation, both on the safety and the environmental front. The reason that that's important to us is the differentiated gas market, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, is an emerging potential opportunity for us. But more importantly, is really doing things responsibly for the right way. We want our employees to be proud to work with us, for us. We want the communities to host us and welcome us there, and we want to be good neighbors to all of those folks that we're around. So, really leaning into emissions mitigation, environmental performance, safety, all of those things. Those are really part of our DNA and just who we are as a company.
I love that. And it's again the part of the country that you're operating in, it's not hugely populated, but there are a lot of national parks and protected lands and stuff around where you are. And so that aspect of it, to be able to be a good neighbor and a good member of the community, like, it's so important. And I think shows that we can actually strike that right balance of developing the hydrocarbons we need and the energy we need, because Wyoming's been an all energy state, as well as actually being good stewards. So it's really cool to see companies taking the lead in that. And I know Pure West comes up in conversations around really being a leader in that space, that you can do both. And I think it's so important because it is missing a lot. Um, so yeah, it's something that's really cool. And so you talked about some of the financial benefits as well. Like, just talk about, like, you guys have been a leader around the idea of certified natural gas. Explain what certification, like, can you explain for folks, like, what does certified natural gas even mean? And then we'll sort of pull apart some of the other pieces of it, because there's lots of bits to it.
Sure. So certified gas, we jumped into the market probably 2021 was when we first started our efforts there. At the time, it was really all about getting that third party verification, validation that you're doing things the right way. And so we certified everything with Project Canary with Trustwell at the end of 2022, and that was great because they look at. I think they had a list of 600 different data points that they're looking at, giving us feedback on, and telling us how we can improve, which was great feedback for us. We did a couple of transactions early on in that market of people who that was really, really important to. But since that time, the market really shifted. And so what customers, downstream customers, are demanding is they want cleaner forms of energy and they want us to prove it. So the whole market really shifted away from just simply having a third party verification to having monitoring, measurement, reporting, and verification, or MMRV, which we're hearing a lot about in the market these days. The market's really demanding, prove it. What are your emissions? How are you demonstrating that with what level of accuracy? Looking for things like super emitters and leaks and all of those things that tend to get us in trouble as an industry. And so, where we have evolved to at this point is we're doing MMRV work, we're doing a ISO aligned verification, we're pursuing ISCC verification, and those are important to different industries. Different end users of natural gas products have different frameworks and different things that are important to them when they are accounting for their own emission reductions and their emission reduction goals. So we're looking for a place for natural gas to fit into that market.
I love that. And we'll talk a little bit about some of those different customers, but, like, the environmental attribute of this, right? Like, there's a value in that. Like you said, it's sort of the industries, and the certified gas has sort of evolved just from having it and saying it, but there's actually now value in that for those downstream customers. So, like, what kind of environmental attributes, like when you guys are certifying your gas, like, what kind of things are your downstream buyers really looking for in terms of an attribute or a certificate, or something like that for your actual natural gas?
It's evolving and it varies. I would say consistently, buyers are looking for emissions performance. They're looking for our total carbon intensity footprint, our methane intensity footprint. We're also hearing demand for water metrics and making sure that we're responsible water operators as well. And I think over time, as these different attributes are important to various sectors, we're going to hear about ways that we can demonstrate and show our environmental performance around multiple resource issues.
It's really interesting. I've started to hear a lot about water. So it's interesting that you guys are hearing that as part of your certification process as well. And it's not just greenhouse gases. So Let's talk a little bit. You guys made a pretty big announcement back in May around some of your certified gas. Can you, explain to people what that announcement was about and how that process is evolving?
Sure. So the announcement in May was a partnership with Prometheus Hyperscale and Frontier Carbon Solutions. The cool thing about this one, we're hearing a lot about data centers and AI demands and power demands and all of these things that are going on. Prometheus Hyperscale is building a data center in Southwest Wyoming, so they're our neighbors. They're in our neighborhood. It's awesome. It's a great partnership for that reason alone. But what Prometheus Hyperscale is doing is they're building a 1.2 gigawatt data center in Southwest Wyoming. They've got different tenants with different emission performance, water performance needs. And so, as tenants are coming in and occupying that space, by leveraging our differentiated gas, or we call them carbon insets, because we're really reducing emissions and the need for carbon offsets down at the end of the line, a tenant can reduce their scope 3 emissions footprint by leveraging our differentiated gas. And then any additional abatement that they're looking to do, that's where Frontier Carbon Solution comes in. They're also neighbors. They're down in that part of the state. They're doing carbon capture. And so really this partnership, what it does is it allows optionality, anything from just reliable power all the way to net zero power by partnering these three organizations together. It's pretty cool. We're pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations. It's a huge announcement. And I think, like you said, there's been so much talked about in terms of where all the energy is going to come for different data centers and around the country, and how that's going to be generated, whether it's going back to coal and stuff like that, or like in this circumstance using differentiated low carbon gas. It's amazing. So yeah, congratulations. It's going to be cool to see how that evolves.
Thank you.
Really kind of, again, setting the, like, leading in the market around how differentiated gas, what role it plays and how it can be traded. It's pretty cool. So you talked about some of the other sectors. So the data center is a big kind of piece in terms of differentiated gas. Talk about some of the other sectors that you see, looking at buying certified gas in the market, and how that plays in, and how maybe some of the frameworks and different attributes that you guys have to think about maybe vary between, this data center deal versus some of the other downstream customers.
Sure. So, domestically, we're hearing from chemical manufacturing and industrials and different market segments within the states, but it's not a domestic world anymore. It's a global world, and so we're certainly watching things on the global scale as well. The Europeans have an MMR-free framework that they're working on. We know that through the Japanese, the JOG map, they've got some emission reduction goals, and so there's a lot of opportunities both in the LNG space and in industrial space internationally as well. At the end of the day, globally, this is really a voice of the customer exercise. Lower forms of, lower impact forms of energy, I think, are becoming very, very important. And so leveraging kind of these durable and credible market-based solutions for reliable energy, I think, is getting a lot of traction, and really hoping that these market-based solutions really take off.
And people might not be, particularly, I don't know if they're from different sectors and stuff like that. Like the chemicals piece, I think, is really interesting because a lot of people may be unaware of natural gas's role in methanol production. And there's been a huge push for low carbon fuels as we try and replace fuels for particularly shipping and all sorts of things. And so it's a really interesting framework there that, again, is a little bit domestic, but like you said, very global in nature as well. So have you guys seen a little bit of an uptick from those kind of players? Because a lot of those fuel standards are not going away or changing or anything like that at all.
Absolutely. The International Maritime Organization rolled out some final emission reduction goals, I believe, earlier this year or last year, and so definitely the methanol space is heating up. We just forget that utilities are not the only ones that are using natural gas. I mean, it is throughout our society, and there's a lot of different industry segments. So really, in terms of like where is that market demand coming from, it's really anyone who's leveraging natural gas who has emission reduction goals. We can help achieve those.
Yeah. No, it's really cool. And so as we kind of look out into the rest of this year and into early next year and maybe even beyond, like, what are you really excited about? What's on your radar? What are you going to be looking at?
I mean, obviously, we're watching the deregulatory agenda coming down from this administration, and trying to keep tabs on that. But what I'm really excited about is I'm really not hearing a lot of people that are going to stop and going to roll back. I think this voluntary space, this market-based space, I think has a lot of potential. I think we're gonna see a lot of innovation. I think we're gonna see a lot of additional emission reductions. I you know, just think that we have, a lot of opportunities for, gosh, just incredible work to be done in this space in the coming years.
Yeah, I love that. And I think you guys, are an example where, yes, there is some regulatory stuff you've been looking at in Wyoming, but you really are an example, I think, of where these market mechanisms really can help drive the decisions and the performance around some of this because there is a lot of upside to it. So I think it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how much of that does continue to grow as we work towards this. So, yeah, it's great.
Cool.
So, Kelly, with that, yeah, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been great, and I think it's hopefully everyone has learned a little bit about some of the market opportunities for natural gas. So, thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Deb.